5 years since the global shift to remote work. The debate over returning to the office is far from settled. Despite high-profile calls for a great return from business leaders and CEOs, a new report compiled by King's College London has revealed that workers are increasingly resistant to employer-driven return-to-office mandates. This resistance has significant implications for businesses and worker well-being in the labour market. Drawing on extensive data, the new report on return-to-office mandates examined why rigid return-to-office mandates are facing pushback, who is most affected, and what's truly at stake for employers and society. Contrary to media narratives and executive proclamations, there is no evidence that return-to-office mandates are producing a widespread return to traditional office-based work. Since 2022, working from home rates have remained remarkably stable. For instance, over 25% of UK workers say their home is their main place of work. Around 40% work remotely at least 1 day per week, and a quarter work 3 or more days from home. While some employers have reduced full-time remote options compared to peak pandemic levels, overall flexibility has actually increased. The average permitted work-from-home days rose from less than 1 day per week in 2022 to about 1.3 days by 2024. Hybrid arrangements, typically 1 or 2 days at home, are becoming the new norm. As return-to-office mandates become more prevalent, worker willingness to comply has dropped sharply. Only 42% of workers would comply with a 5-day return-to-office mandate, down from 54% in early 2022. Moreover, half would actively seek a new job offering remote options if forced back full-time by a return-to-office mandate. Furthermore, the proportion of workers willing to quit immediately in response to a return-to-office mandate doubled from 5% in early 2022 to nearly 10% by mid-2024. This trend highlights a dramatic shift in that flexible working is no longer seen as a temporary perk, but an essential part of modern employment. Resistance to return-to-office mandates varies across different groups. By late 2024, only about a third of women said they would comply with return-to-office mandates. Over half would look for another job, and nearly 1 in 10 would quit outright. Moreover, only 1/3 of mothers of young children under 6 who face acute childcare challenges would comply with full-time office requirements. Furthermore, 53% of fathers with school-aged children now say they'd quit or look elsewhere if mandated back. Black and minority ethnic workers show higher compliance rates, likely reflecting greater job insecurity and workplace discrimination. However, contrary to claims that Gen Z craves office culture, younger age groups are among the least likely to support mandatory returns. Rigid return-to-office mandates risk creating a two-tier workforce. Those able or willing to return may advance, while others, often women or caregivers, face exclusion or career penalties. This undermines diversity and inclusion efforts, as well as talent retention. Research shows that when flexible work becomes associated mainly with mothers or parents, stigma increases and career progression slows. If men return while women remain in remote work due to caregiving responsibilities, gender inequality could deepen further. One frequent rationale for return-to-office mandates is concern over productivity. However, the evidence shows that flexible workers are just as productive, if not more so, as their in-office peers. Studies highlight that home-based employees often work longer hours with fewer breaks and demonstrate greater loyalty and job satisfaction. Moreover, flexible working helps companies attract more applicants, upwards of 30% more according to recent studies, and supports better employee well-being, which are a key driver of performance. With flexibility now expected by much of the workforce, companies enforcing strict office attendance risk losing valuable talent. This comes at a time when skills shortages are already acute across many sectors. Organizations that fail to adapt could find themselves unable to compete for top candidates and retain those they have. Forward-thinking businesses should view flexibility as a core business strategy rather than a temporary concession. Practical steps include formalizing hybrid models by codifying expectations around remote and in-office balance. Investing in collaboration tools would also help to ensure seamless communication regardless of location. Moreover, employers should arrange regular team office days for collaboration without mandating constant presence. Employers should also encourage all employees to engage in flexible working, not just parents, thereby reducing stigma and bias. Above all, changes should be managed carefully, with transparent communication to avoid legal ramifications.